All right, a story. Let me think about this. Um, practical jokes. Oh, okay. Okay, here we go. Wow, I'm like a deer in the headlights. So bright. Uh, you know what? I'll tell you a story about bugs. Speaking of Kim Manners, who's our director, who also did, I think, 55 episodes of X-Files. He had done more X-Files than anybody else. Yeah, yay for Kim Manners. He's fantastic. He was doing an episode called Bugs, and I remember we were coming off of Skin, the shapeshifter episode, where we had done the fight scene, which was kind of my favorite scene to film. And we were beat up, and we had been training on Saturdays and Sundays and throughout the weekdays and during lunch with this Ultimate Fighter and with our stunt coordinators, and we were all pretty beat up. And we were like, we just need an episode where Sam and Dean sit in the Impala and make a phone call and get rid of the demon or something. And then we read the next script, and it's like, you know, Sam and Dean hear about this Indian ritual, and they go to save a family who's on some sacred grounds, and there are 100,000 bees in the attic, and they're in the attic. And we were like, oh, that's going to be a lot of visual effects. And so then I remember we're still shooting Skin. We're shooting the fight scene, actually, that day, and during lunch, our assistant director comes up and says, hey, guys, so the bee trainer is here, and he wants to introduce you to the bees. And we were like, what do you... There's a what? There's a who? Bee trainer. Like, I've never heard of, how do you train bees? And so sure enough, we walk outside, and I don't know if he explained it later like it was a hot day and the bees were kind of like aggravated because they had been traveling to set, and then they'd gone to another set, and I think the girl who was working with the bees had to do something for Exorcism of Emily Rose or something like that. And so he's sitting there, and he's like, it's no big deal, and there are bees flying around. We're outside, and he releases them out of a box. And he's explaining that they're drone bees and that they don't attack unless they're angry and that you can just kind of like swat your hands. But we were thinking the whole idea is that our characters are going to be swatting these bees away. And they're like, well, you can't really swat the bees. You can go like this with your hands, but you can't swat the bees. And so I was just thinking, like, I'm not just going to sit here in an attic and go like this while bees are flying around, do the wave or something. And so he's telling us to go ahead and try. And he wants to show us himself and, you know, inspire some confidence within us. And so he gets out and he releases the bees, and he makes them go on his arm. He puts some little juice on his arm or something. And one starts getting on his arm. He shoos it away, and we're like, oh, not a big deal. And then one gets on his neck, and he shoos it away, and it comes right back and zips him in the face. And we were like, great, so here we go. We're going to get stung in the face, and we're going to be in a room. And we really were in a room smaller than this stage, probably half the size of the stage, with like 60,000 bees. And Jensen and I both got stung. And I remember Jensen was the first to get stung because he had an aerosol can or something, and he was holding it, and a bee got on it, and he kind of like brushed it off, and it came back, and it stung him in the hand or something. And then I sort of laughed at him, and of course that's when I probably sealed my fate. And I'm sitting down. I go to sit down, actually. And right as I sit down, I go, oh, crap, there's a bee in my ass. There's a bee. And sure enough, I get up, and they rush me to some safe airlocked room or something where they had a vacuum cleaner. And he's like, yep, sure enough, there's one. And the guy's asking, pull down your pants, make sure you didn't leave the stinger. And so I'm sitting there and trying to, you know, deal with myself pulling down my pants in front of a man that I've never met before who's training bees. And he had a vacuum cleaner. And that's another thing that he was saying. That's how they had to get the bees off. Once bees got on you and you couldn't get them off, they had like a little air hose vacuum cleaner that and they'd suck the bees into this vacuum cleaner bag where I guess they weren't hurt, and then re-release them. And he explained that the more that you have to do it, the more angry they get. So not to do the scene too many times, but the nature of a television show is you do a master shot, and then you come around and you shoot the other angle, and then you shoot a close-up, and then you shoot the other guy's close-up. And so about 3 or 4 hours into it, we're like, you know what, we're going to get stung for sure. But another way to describe Kim Manners, for whoever asked, was that when we found out that we were going to be shooting in this attic with all these bees, they got like hazmat suits for all the crew, which was kind of weird as an actor looking around and seeing all these tough crew guys with tattoos and like shaved heads and their hazmat suits, scared of the bees, and here we are in like t-shirts. But Kim turned his down and said, if my actors aren't going to wear a hazmat suit, I'm not going to either. So he sat there in the attic with us watching a handheld monitor and directing. And I think he got stung a few times. We were all getting stung. So that probably also was not my most favorite scene to film.